What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video today, I'm going to be going over my top 10 affordable point guards right now in NBA 2K25 MyTEAM. Doing it a little bit differently, just for the basically sole fact of so many of these cards are just unrealistic. Like if you look at even all the 100 overalls, literally all of them, they're way too overpriced. I mean, all of them are basically 500,000 MT plus, maybe outside of Oscar. Obviously, Invincibles are overpriced. Obviously, if you want me to rank them, like, yeah, you got, the 100 overall Ben Simmons, like, there's just, it's hard. I don't want my entire list being filled with that. So I'm gonna put a little twist on it, not rank those, and instead rank our affordable-ish cards. We're gonna start off with number 10, being Dominique Wilkins. Now, I've used Dominique Wilkins. I gotta say, I don't love the card. 6'8" though, 6'10" wingspan, defensively gonna be really stout. Dominique on very quick. Has the Pro 2 leaner, 6'8" and good defense. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like I at least have to somewhat respect him, even if I don't necessarily love what Dominique Wilkins gives you. And so that's just kind of where I'm at right now with Dominique. I don't even necessarily love the card. I don't like hyping him up, any of those types of things, but at the end of the day, the card is solid enough. 6'8", 6'10" wingspan, gonna play solid defense, has that Pro 2 leaner, kind of just in the back of his pocket, waiting to pull it out. And for me, I think the card ultimately does enough to be in here at number 10. Now, offensively, I will say, I don't necessarily love what Dominique Wilkins gives you. I feel like, offensively, he is somewhat limited. Not that he's bad, but I do think the card is just somewhat limited on the offensive side of the ball. I will say the Pro 2 leaner definitely is helpful with what Dominique Wilkins is trying to get to. At my number 9, you gotta plug in Manu Ginobili somewhere. And I think number 9 is the perfect spot. Now, some people swear by Manu Ginobili. Some people really do like this card. However, for me, I don't think he is quite to that level, that extreme level. Does have a great 3-ball, great speed, solid release, Pro 2 leaner. Here's the simple truth for Manu Ginobili. Offensively, he's going to be better than a guy like Dominique Wilkins. Defensively, he's just going to be slightly worse. So it's kind of a balancing act for Dominique Wilkins and Manu Ginobili. I don't hate either card. I actually think both cards are fine. Both cards are playable. It just comes down to who do you ultimately prefer. And for me, I think I prefer Manu right now by the slightest of margins, just for the sole fact of Manu Ginobili is going to give you that slight little bit more offense in a time right now where I just think sometimes it can be, especially with a lot of these cards, especially at the point guard position, a lot of times you need that extra offense, and so I'm going to lean in that direction. Coming in at my number 8, I'm plugging in the Dark Matter Jason Kidd card. Now, I already know my comments are going to be like, well, Ty, Jason Kidd isn't affordable anymore because I can't go and get him other stuff. Look, I get it, okay? If you didn't get Jason Kidd, forget what I'm even talking about. But if you have Jason Kidd, know and realize the card is an absolute beast. The card is an absolute stud that can play at an insanely high level. Jason Kidd offensively is so elite, comes with the Pro 2 leaner, has, a crazy good jump shot. Problem with Jason Kidd is he's just slightly undersized. And I think that's the really big, I don't want to say red flag, but the really big problem with, looking at a guy like Jason Kidd is he is going to be undersized. So defensively, I don't want to say lackluster, but is going to maybe lack where, a lot of these other guys don't. But offensively, he's a shot creator, guys. He's going to be able to knock down shots. Defensively, he's not going to be necessarily the best in the game, but he's going to be just fine where he's going to be able to at least hold it down for you guys. So I'm going to put Jason Kidd in here at my number 8 spot, whereas defensively, he's going to be lackluster, but offensively, absolutely elite. At my number 7, I've got Dark Matter Draymond Green. And as I'm going through this, if there is anybody I leave off the list, I apologize. I tried to make, this list as good as possible. But again, if there's anybody I left off, I apologize. At number 7, Draymond Green. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, Ty, Draymond Green's release is this, it's horrible, all these things. And I get where people are coming from. Draymond Green's release is relatively slow. But if you get an open with Draymond, he's cash. He's not going to miss opens for you guys. Defensively, he's going to play great defense. And for me, when I'm looking at things with Draymond Green, I just think he's a complete point guard. No offensively, can't really make a ton of plays. But I think like defensively, I prefer him over Dominique Wilkins. And it's crazy because Dominique Wilkins is taller. But I feel like if you compare their player model player builds, Draymond Green just has such a better player build. Plus, I never miss with Draymond. Now again, I know that his release isn't the quickest, so I'm obviously taking part of that into consideration. But for me, when I'm looking at things, I really do like what Draymond Green gives you guys. As far as a defensive point guard in this game, coming in at my number 7. At my number 6 is the new Alex Caruso card. I said this in my video the other day. If you're not talking about 100 overall invincible point guards, there's not many better than Alex Caruso. There's just not. He's 6'5". His movement is absolutely fantastic, absolutely elite. He can create his own shot. There's just not many downsides to Alex Caruso whatsoever. I actually could move Alex Caruso higher. The only problem is his height. Like, he's just not super long, just not super lengthy. And that's the only really massive problem that I do see with Alex Caruso. But it is a problem, right? And it is something that, you know, should be a kind of a holdup. I don't want to say massive red flag, but kind of a holdup for people is the fact that Caruso is not slightly taller. I still think Caruso is good. I still think he is solid. Still think he is deserving of that number 6 spot. At my number 5, I'm plugging in Stephon Castle. Big thing here between Castle and Caruso, right? Caruso offensively is going to be able to create a little bit more. Has obviously better dribble sigs. I think his release is slightly better. But the big thing here for Stephon Castle is he's just going to be longer on the floor, right? He's going to be taller, going to be able to get you more stops, those types of things. And so even, you know, when you're comparing Castle and Caruso, I don't even, you know, if you wanted to think one way about these cards, that's fine. Don't let my, you know, thoughts ruin what you guys think about the cards. I'm just giving you guys kind of my base thoughts on the cards. When I've used Castle, I really have liked the card. I've really enjoyed using him. But again, it's just tough for me to put him any higher just because the lack of offense definitely is there. Like, he does struggle sometimes offensively when I have used the card. But overall, really do like Stephon Castle. At my number 4 is Zachary Richardson, and I'm going to have to move people this way because I just realized that I left somebody off this list, which is fine, right? Like, that's fine. We'll put them in here. I got to think about where I want to put them, and I think I figured it out. But let's put Zachary in here at number 5. Has good height, has, you know, a solid enough offense. Like, it's not going to be great, but it's not going to be like some of the worst offense on this list. And so for me, he's a guy that can obviously hold it down. Again, not a perfect card. I want you guys to know and realize that. But is a card like, again, if you you can trust him to play good defense and knock down open shots. And I do think for the era we are in my team, that is an important thing to have. At my number 4, we're plugging in the Glitch Festival Josh Giddey card. Do I think Josh Giddey was ultimately worth getting? No. But if you did get Josh Giddey, you got a really solid point guard on this game. And I think it's important to separate those things, right? Because it gets a little weird here because Josh Giddey is really solid. The problem is you had to lock a bunch of MT in that My Team Festival, and I'm not a fan of obviously doing that. So I like Josh Giddey. I think the card's really solid, and obviously if you've got the card, you've got a really good point guard. I just don't think he was ultimately worth locking in basically MT for him. At my number 3, this is the guy I initially forgot, Andrew Bogut's Galaxy Opal. 7 feet tall at the point guard position. Now, I do wish his 3-ball was a little bit higher. I think it's a 70, what is it, 79? I wish his speed was a little bit higher. I think it's an 86. Those are the two things for me with Andrew Bogut that I do wish he was just, you know, slightly better at. It's not horrible, but I just wish it was slightly higher. Still, with all that being said, he's an absolute beast. He's 7 feet tall at the point guard position, and there are only so many negative things that you can bring to the table with that. Like, if you are that tall at that point guard position, it's really tough for me not to hype you up. At my number 2, we are plugging in the glitched Luka Doncic card. Now, if you're wanting offense on this point guard list, it is Luka, it is Manu Ginobili, and it is Jason Kidd. This is mostly a defensive point guard list. It is. Now, a lot of these cards can do a lot of things, but I'm just telling you, most of this list is some of your best defenders in the game. Luka is going to bring the offense on this list to the table. Has so much offense going for him. Going to knock down shots. Has a great release. The only problem with Luka Doncic is his leaner, guys. He does not have a good, moving jump shot, and that is something at this stage that does obviously, hinder him a little bit. But you can pick up a really really good Luka without going broke, and that is something that am I recommending? I don't know, but you can obviously do that for yourselves. At my number 1, we've got to plug in Galaxy Hope with Denny. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Ty, I'm so tired of hearing the Denny hype. You know, they don't want to just sit up here and hear it all day long, but you got to realize Denny can play. Denny is a really solid option. Now, again, am I saying Denny's, you know, the best card in the game? No, but he is definitely a really, really solid option for you guys. And if you guys are in need of a, you know, a good long, and if you like a long, lengthy point guard, Denny is the card that I ultimately would recommend for you guys. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Offensively, he's still not going to be necessarily ideal. But as far as like a complete point guard that's going to get you stops, that has a smooth jump shot, has a solid normal leaner going right, Denny is going to be really, really solid when it does ultimately come down to that. So that is going to ultimately wrap it up for our top 10 point guards in this game. Like I said, if you were just, you know, saying, oh, well, Ty, I want to know your actual top 10, you know, point guards with all the invincibles, all the 100 overalls, that's fine, but my list would be filled with them, right? I would have MJ, I would have Shea, I would have Ben Simmons, I would have to include Gary Payton in there, even though I don't love Gary Payton. Penny would be in there, Devin Booker would be in there. Like, it would just be a list filled with them, and that's not fun for me to do at this stage. Scottie Pippen would have to be in there, Cade Cunningham. Like, it just wouldn't be fun for me. So, had to change it up slightly and do something just slightly different. So, hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Drop a like on the video, guys. Subscribe if you are new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.